Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America Trading Corporation, and thank you for tuning in to our podcast, The Secret War on Cash. For those of you who are subscribers, been with us for a while, it's great seeing you again. And for those of you who are brand new, welcome aboard. And today we're going to be talking about BRICS and some of the developments that have been happening there. My co-host Chris Agelastos and I have been covering this topic quite extensively, actually, for the last couple of years now, and it's been gaining speed, gaining momentum, and we talk about that every time we discuss this. But the I love the title of this article, Chris. What the Wall Street is not telling you about de-dollarization. Now,
Yep.
to be clear, we talk about de-dollarization because there's a lot of information out there, and there are a lot of developments or things that are happening. But one of the things I did, Chris, prior to today, is I did a little further research to kind of take a dive into looking at what those people who think BRICS is not an issue, not a problem, what they're saying. Okay. And
Yep.
without boring you with all the topics or things that I got into, I bullet pointed it here. Okay. So the people who think de-dollarization is not a problem, they cite such facts as lack of unity. And in a way, I kind of see that, but in a way not, because it seems like they are becoming a little more united in a lot of ways, more united than they were. Let's put it that way. Economic disparities, very fair, very true. Meaning, you've got some nations that are greater producers or lesser producers than others. However, it seems to me like it kind of no matter big or small the nation in terms of what they're bringing to the table, it seems to have some kind of a collateral benefit to their nation to become involved with BRICS.
Mm.
There's just a couple more here. Institutional weakness. What they mean by institutional weakness is that there's no um, there's no like central institution because they're all kind of fragmented. Good point ish, but I think and I don't know if you have an opinion on this, Chris, but to me,
Yeah.
their institutional solidarity comes in the fact that they're in the BRICS alliance itself. I mean, them
Yeah.
deciding to sign up or get on board, that in and of itself kind of lends to institutional solidarity, to me anyway.
Yeah.
The last two, no shared ideology, which kind of bleeds into the other one a little bit, but I think their ideology is very shared from what we've seen is they're pretty specific about de-dollarization. I mean, that's BRICS and de-dollarization have become synonymous with one another. And to me, that seems like a pretty solid shared ideology. And then the last is that they believe, and this might be the most valid, hopefully for us here in the United States, et cetera, but Western dependence. So what they're the again the those who are not of the belief that BRICS is a threat or a problem, they're of the belief that because of United States, the US dollar and what have you, and the dependence that has been there, that they're not going to be able to get away from that. And that's really the question. So here's the thing: as we get into this article here, and then, so what Wall Street's not telling you about de-dollarization, I'm just going to
Mhm.
clip through these points really fast, and then we'll
Yep.
get into talking about it. One, the idea of self-sufficient economies is on the rise, which I kind of, for those who are detractors, kind of flies in the face of that a little bit. The rise of the yuan and the euro, very viable currencies. And this has come up, we've talked about in previous podcasts that many experts suggest that the replacement to the dollar would be the yuan. The euro is probably a close second, but the bottom line is, I would say those are pretty viable alternatives to the US dollar. This is a big one. Central banks gold buying spree, which has been signaling that the central banks see something that is coming down the pike or something on the horizon that signifying or representing or reflecting some kind of a change. So looking at all these things, the bottom line is, Chris, like we know what the let's call them the detractors of BRICS are suggesting. We see what as they're talking about in this commentary on watcher.guru, which for those of you tuned in, you can click on the link here in the program description. So what do you think, Chris? I mean, is who's right? Are the detractors right, or and I'm not saying that, I don't know if there's a lot of people who are per se in favor of BRICS, but the people
Yeah.
who are talking about what BRICS is bringing to the table, who do you think has a stronger argument to make here?
Well, I'd say that all of those points have been accurate at some time in the past, but what the BRICS organization is doing is showing that they are, actively working towards overcoming a lot of those issues. And when you add to that
You're
that
right.
in the last
You're right.
several
Yeah.
years, Russia, Iran, China, all seeing some sanctions from the U.S. Now you've got the tariffs and some of the trade wars, still continuing to go on, and that's just giving them more and more incentive to continue filling these gaps that again are true to some extent, but I think those cracks are becoming smaller and smaller, and at the end of the day, people are losing confidence in the dollar. Not just individuals, obviously, but the world's central banks, and losing that confidence and shifting over to non-dollar assets like gold. We've heard so much about the gold reserves that they've been stockpiling. All of those things are filling those cracks and advancing BRICS, forward on towards their goal. So I don't see it slowing down. If anything, the momentum is all going towards the BRICS organization, and the U.S. Whether we like it or not, or agree with it or not, this is the path that we're on. And so unless we're going to make some big changes and push for more of an appeal to the U.S. dollar, I don't think this is going to change anytime soon.
I would agree with you. And the bottom line is again that that is it is a move in solidarity that all these nations who are jumping on board with BRICS. And I see that it's not, again, with what the people who think that BRICS isn't a threat versus what is
Mhm.
actually happening with BRICS, as I mentioned a moment ago. I think their points are, I understand why they're saying them, but I think what they've already got going with the BRICS alliance already supersedes most of everything that they're saying there. And for those of you
Yeah.
tuned in, we get a lot of questions, emails, comments, etc., on this whole topic of BRICS. And if you have an opinion on or something you want to share, please email us. We have an email address that's set up. In fact, at CC, our producer, I think will have it up on the screen. It's podcast at swissamerica.com. CC, I think I may have given you the wrong email address. It's podcast at swissamerica.com. If you have any questions or comments or would like to weigh in on that, we'd love to hear from you. And let's get into the next article that we have, excuse me, that we have on this whole topic here as well. As you look at, again, let's key in on, I think the two biggest things are that is basically the lack of unity, because that encompassed a few of the points that they had, and then the Western dependence. Well, in this next article here, you see BRICS members in 2025, the full list, and the new member countries and global impact. And right away, I mean, look, the Western dependence, let's deal with that. They're saying 30% of global GDP comes from participating BRICS nations. Okay. With that being said, Chris, I mean, you're talking, I think you had the original five founding nations, but I
Yeah.
think there's somewhere around 30 other or additional nations that are looking to get in. And basically, the again, looking at what the counterpoints were to those same BRICS isn't an issue, that lack of solidarity. I mean, when they're jumping on board, basically what they're saying is we want to participate in what BRICS is doing, establishing their own currency, basically their own monetary or financial system of sorts, and also the further development of their own currency and their own
Mhm.
local economy. And then in addition to that, they also have the benefit or the aspect of they're forming these, what did they call it in the article, Chris? There was a word they had for it. I can't believe I didn't write it down, but no, they're calling them partner countries. So they're
Right.
looking at it as becoming partner countries. And so with this said, I mean, again, everything that we have seen is suggesting that this is not only here, but it's here to stay, and it's getting bigger by the day.
Yeah, look, like you mentioned, talking about all the detractors and why they're saying this isn't working. This article is a perfect example of how it is working for BRICS and interested nations. They're growing in membership. Okay, so if you have a new golf club and you have a waiting list and a bunch of members trying to join, I would say it's going well.
Yeah,
Not going badly.
exactly
If
right.
if if it was a ghost town, maybe they could have a point that, okay, there isn't enough demand here. There's something wrong, and there's a reason people don't want to join. But in this case, they've gone from 5 original members to now 11 full members, an additional 13 partner countries, like you mentioned, that they're not full members, but they're cooperating and working with BRICS. They've got 32 additional to that countries that have expressed interest in joining, with 23 of them submitting formal applications. So there is demand here. I mean, we could spin it all you want and say that BRICS isn't doing well, but when you have this kind of demand, it means that at least a good portion of the world is interested in joining. They've already got 40% of the world's population between their member nations, and they control about 50% of the world's oil production and 35% of the consumption. So put all of those factors together, they're growing, and that's a good thing for them. And even if you want to say, well, they're not doing that great, which I think unfortunately for the US they are doing quite well, they're growing. And what they're growing, even if they were growing slowly, any growth that they have is taking away from the US dollar and dollar dominance. So there's no way to really sugarcoat it that the US dollar is losing some of its appeal and some of its use in international trade. That is happening. The question is whether or not we can slow it, or if BRICS stumbles, perhaps they start heading down a negative path, doing some things that cause them to lose member nations, maybe not giving enough of a voice or voting power to some of their partner countries. Then maybe they could stumble. But right now, they're ahead in the race, and every step that they gain is a step that we lose here, in the U.S. with the strength and the dominance of the U.S. dollar.
Right. Think they're actually all very good points. And it's interesting too, if you do start doing some research on this, all the categories that they get into with bricks, and there's always some kind of a comparison, it seems, going on. And what I'm getting at, one of which being, I mean, already bricks, you can find a ton of information or data on bricks being compared to the G7. Well, G7's been, I mean, it used to be G8, whatever, but like they've been around forever. And
Yeah.
already BRICS is being compared to, the G7. So it shows that there
Yep.
is definitely there's a presence, let's call it, because you don't do that if there's no presence. And if you get into, kind of point by point, I mean, the like GDP of BRICS nations versus the G7, it's pretty comparable. In fact, they say
Right.
in the PPP category of GDP, the BRICS nations actually is greater or bigger than the G7 is. So definitely something that we're going to continue to follow. We say that each time, but it's true, and that's the thing. The more that we've been following this, there just seems to be point after point after point. That keeps coming out. That's just, again, in my opinion, it's lending credibility to the fact that not only is BRICS here, but it's probably here to stay. And the question is, how much is it going to take off or explode? And again, for those of you
Yeah.
tuning in, if you have any comments or you'd like to weigh in on this discussion a little further, we'd love to hear from you. Send us off an email at the email address is podcast at SwissAmerica, all one word, .com. If you're not subscribed to our podcast, we'd love for you to do so, as we can talk to you more about the bricks and other things here in the future. And if you'd like to get any information on the secret war on cash, our very, very most popular requested report we've ever had, you can contact us at 1-800-289-2646, or you can text us actually at that same number, and also visit us online at www.swissamerica.com. Chris, any final remarks?
No, I think at the end of the day, you summed it up. I mean, BRICS is growing. U.S. dollar dominance is shrinking. That's not a good thing. I think people need to get their ducks in a row and make sure they're protected. Reach out to us, and we'll be happy to help or answer any questions that you have.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, and we'll see you real soon.
Take care.